Welcome. This is Group Delta's A5 assignment, measuring student engagement in undergraduates. My name is Brent Larson. I'm a doc student at UNL and a full-time math teacher at Omaha Central High School. The recording that you're seeing now is being done on a screen, and it's a Google document and a Google Hangout. We're trying to see if we can make this all work out for the second time.
My name is Amy Tankersley, and I'm a graduate assistant and doctoral student at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
My name is Elena Bassett, and I'm an audiologist, as well as a doctoral student at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
Okay, starting with the first slide of the lit review, talking about the purpose of the test. First thing, our study aims to compare and measure student engagement for undergraduate students from the College of Education. And what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to compare measures of student engagement with academic performance, grades, and student retention. And to do that, we will gather data from some student surveys in our class on things like peer interaction, overall campus experience, classroom experiences, and compare that to grades, attrition rates in the college. Next. So just a little bit overall about student engagement and learning. Student engagement is a fairly complex matter. It has a great deal of intrinsic and behavioral factors. Mostly education focuses on the behavioral factors because they're more likely to be able to create interventions that can be developed and thus improve student engagement with learning. The reason it's important in colleges is because colleges, about 49% of college students that start as freshmen will have a bachelor's degree within 6 years. And many of those students drop out and never return to college. Engagement has been linked to higher achievement in school, higher participation, and retention rates, both at universities and through middle schools and high schools. Next. So a few factors that affect engagement. Some of the intrinsic motivation talk about student interest, educational goals, their background, age, and gender. Mostly what we're looking at is we're looking at things that the teacher can influence. So things like the activities and the lessons that are created, things like authentic problem solving, collaboration, student discourse, creating active learners, and then the classroom environment, creating attitudes, support, faculty interaction, and also the ability of faculty and schools to bring in communities, peer, family involvement. All of these things have been found to increase student engagement and then consequently student learning. Next. So a few measures of student engagement. So student engagement can be measured through a variety of ways. Student surveys, teacher and administrative surveys, or observations, or then any combination of those have been used to research and measure student engagement. Survey topics typically focus on things like classroom activities, student-faculty interactions, the overall school, college environment, students' aspirations, both educational or otherwise, their interaction with their peers, and then general feelings and attitudes towards different parts of campus life, classroom environment, or the college classes that they attend. Next. So primarily what we're going to do is we're going to use this data to look at the educational program and compare the student engagement program, hopefully to influence program development and faculty decisions, basically improve the program. So to do that, we'll compare engagement data with student performance and measures to provide a way to determine how the program serves the student and then figure out if there's anything lacking in that. But besides what we're planning to use it on, data can also be used to use and impact teacher strategies, look at high yield strategies and how they impact student learning, assess how students are interacting with their peers and faculty, look for any areas of improvement in that area, and then actually hit and target specific subgroups like gender, international students, or any other students that are at high risk for attrition in the program. Next.
So prior to developing a measure that will allow us to test our interest in student engagement, it's important to look at the tests that previously or the tests that exist currently that measure student engagement. Two of these tests include the Motivated Strategies for Learners Questionnaire, also known as the MSLQ, as well as the National Survey of Student Engagement, or the NSSE. Both of these are widely implemented measures at the university setting. The measure that I'm going to be discussing is the Motivated Strategies for Learning Questionnaire, or the MSLQ. So the MSLQ was developed at the University of Michigan by Pintrick, Smith, Garcia, and McKeechee in order to assess or measure student engagement at the undergraduate level. The measure was developed to assess learning strategies, task-specific motivations, and cognition as they related to a student's engagement. It's developed in a sense where a professor could provide this measure to a course to see how the students enrolled are engaged in the material and how they feel about interacting with the material. The basis of the measure relies on a socio-cognitive model of motivation, suggesting that the manner in which students complete their academic coursework, such as homework assignments or discussion board tasks, is reflective of their self-regulated as well as overall academic performance. The administration of this measure can be done in a paper-pencil format and takes approximately 20 to 30 minutes to complete the full measure. It's an 81-item questionnaire, which is provided freely from the University of Michigan or from the authors, as long as the authors are adequately cited on the materials that you use. Next. The item types that are compose the MSLQ are divided into 4 subsections and 15 subscales. The 2 sections that are focused on within the test include motivation and learning strategies. Under motivation, we have value components and expectancy components, so how students set goals for themselves, as well as how they believe in their ability to complete tasks. And under learning strategies, we have cognitive and metacognitive strategies, as well as resource management. How do they use the tools that they have to be successful? For each item, the students respond to the item with a Likert type scale, with 1 being not true of me and 7 being true of me. So how do they respond, or how do they relate to each item type? For example, an item can state, when I'm completing work, I look for a place where I can look quietly and concentrate. The student would then respond with whether or not they believe that statement is true of their work ability or not true of their ability to complete a task. Next. What is interesting for the MSLQ is the score referencing. From what I was able to interpret from the test, it can go either way, whether being normed referenced or criterion referenced. It depends how the professor or the individual would like to use the test. If the individual providing the test or the professor providing the test only provides it to one student, then it would be a criterion referenced measure. Since there are no established norms or developed norms for this measure, it would simply be assessing a student's abilities alone to determine what interventions may be needed by the professor. A norm reference test, on the other hand, would suggest that this measure was provided to a whole course of students. And from that administration, a professor could develop local norms for that class. Feedback is actually provided to the student in either way, but in either criterion or norm reference, but the feedback provided to the student in the norm referenced administration allows for the student to see where they fall within the class 4 different skill sets. So the bottom 25%, middle 50%, or top 20%. Professors can see
The second test that we took a look at, the National Survey of Student Engagement, and it's out of the Indiana University Bloomington. The purpose of the test, the instrument was designed to provide colleges and universities information about the student experiences and institutional performance to improve undergraduate education, inform accountability and accreditation efforts, and facilitate national and sector benchmarking efforts. The test is geared for freshmen and seniors at the university level. It is a little bit shorter in time. It's only a 10 to 15 minutes. It's 38 questions, but those 38 questions do have multiple parts to it. There's a total of 98 responses throughout the survey. The survey can be offered via paper pencil, over the computer, or the last couple of years they've included the mobile device option. And this was most recently in 2016. The test originated in the year in 2000, piloted prior to that, and built on each year. The item types that they work on, similar to the other one, where is the scales of on the previous test, they had the 1 through 7 scale. That is present in the NSSE test, but there are other forms as well. 30 questions are of the 4-point frequency scale, whether you're saying does something happen very often, sometimes, or never. So you could say that same question of how often do you take the time to find a quiet place to study? Rather than on the 7-point scale, it's going to be asked on the 4-point scale. 20 are of the 4-point frequency scale. The option is not there. Instead, it gives you a very little, quite some, and very little. 11 questions are frequency distribution scale. This thing that would be asking how hours a week do you spend on an off-campus job? How many hours a week do you spend on homework? How many term papers of over 20 pages in length do you turn in over a term? And they'll give you a range of numbers to work with. There are 6 questions that do work on the 7-point, this 1 through 7 rating scale. And there's 6 questions that ask about the completeness, whether it's a project that they're on, a degree program that they're working in, or classes that they're working on, where they'll ask, the response can be given as done, in progress, and to do not plan, or have not decided. Obviously, if you add those numbers up, that doesn't match the 98 total responses that are asked. The remaining information. This is like a census. This questions for the school. It asks the year in school, the number of registered classes, grade point average, activities, and things like that. The scoring of this test is a reference test. Following each round of surveys, there's a fall and spring terms where they take the test. Results are gathered with everyone who has taken the test and everyone taken the test previously, and the norm tables are then updated. Mentioned that in 2000, when the test was released, when the results were released, they were released with norm tables that were built on from the 1999 and prior to that of its piloting. Every year since, that data is collected and the norm tables are then updated. Okay.
So for a comparison of the NSSE and the MSLQ in regards to reliability and validity, there was a well-established line of research considering the mass administration of these tests. For reliability, it was shown that the NSSE has an increased reliability as compared to the MSLQ, with the ranges of the alpha coefficients for the MSLQ being observed to be lower for the evaluations of the constructs as compared to the NSSE. Validity, on the other hand, was established through the evaluation of obviously the content, construct, and criterion of validity for each test. But overall, again, it was shown that the NSSE provided a higher validity as compared to the MSLQ for student engagement. It would most likely be important to note that in the establishment of these statistics, the different administration styles of the NSSE as compared to the MSLQ, with the NSSE being a normed test and the MSLQ having a much different variety, of administration types between criterion and normed reference. What was common between the two of them, though, is the future research aims or the needs for future research in this area.
So when looking at the both of them will measure the engagement for our students. It's just a matter of which direction do we want to take. With the MSLQ test, the engagement scores reflect individual students within the department or institution. Students and faculty will have results that will show how the students score with respect to each other, as well as the respect to the scale determined within the institution. So you can, as a department, you can administer the test, and then you can use that to identify which students would need possibly extra attention, or which students do you need to push in the direction of different services that are offered through the department, through the school, through the university. The NSSE test, the scores of the individual students are combined for the institution's engagement score. The students don't actually get a score. It's the school or department that gets the score. Scores are then compared to the other participating institutions. When the school then looks at how they rank with the other institutions that give this measure, they get a sense of what they're doing for their students comparatively to the other place. If you're on the plus side, that's an outstanding recruiting tool to show how your department compares to other departments out in other universities, where you could say we service our students, they have the best feeling in this compared to our other schools. Come to our department. If you're on the other end of it, the department can then take a look at the services that they offer and the things what's being done in the classroom, and what types of things you need to fit. So in order to evaluate the classroom instruction, the pro services that our education department would offer to the students, our group would choose the NSSE instrument. It is possible where you could do both of them, where the NSSE instrument will measure how the department is doing, and then the MSLQ measurement could then pin certain students that need more attention. But then you also run into the case of how many questions are common, what's overlapping, testing fatigue. That's a lot of questions I have to answer between the two of them. But for what our purposes for this study, we decided that the NSSE was a stronger instrument and would fit our needs. In conclusion, showing our list of references, we appreciate taking the time to listen. We hope that everything worked out okay on your end when we record. Thank you.